Hey everybody, our buddy Deke from the Distortion Den is back and we continue our Queensryche series. Up now, Operation Mindcrime. Let's do it. Hey everyone, it's the Snowman with TooLoudTooOldMusic.com. Welcome back to the collection. And as you can see, Deke from the Distortion Den is back with us. Hey Deke,
Hey Johnny, how's it going tonight?
going great. How are you?
Doing well, my friend. Let's get into some mind crime, shall
Some
we?
Queensryche. Yes, we are on our fourth episode. Four. The third studio album by Queensryche, which came out on May 3rd, 1988, and it is Operation Mindcrime. Woo! So, and there's the back. Um, my copy, it's a reissue, just black vinyl. Nothing special, but I do have an insert, which I like the picture. Their hair is much better on this one, even though it's long perms this time. And then the lyric sheet on the back.
Yep.
So, and then of course the CD deluxe set. I have that as well.
Of
So,
course.
of
Of
course.
course.
And I don't have the cassette. I got to get the cassette and then I'll have one of everything. I don't know if there's an 8-track. So, I don't
Hmm.
think I'm going to be able to get that one.
There you go. Something to go on the hunt for.
So, but Operation Mindcrime is the first album for me that got me into Queensryche. So after I saw him with Def Leppard twice, um, after the first time I went and bought the album and just fell in love with it. Um, it's a concept album, and so I was kind of like, oh, this will be interesting because up to this point, the only concept album I knew was The Elder by Kiss, and that is not a good one to base what, concept albums on. Uh, but what'd you think about the concept and everything?
I bought it in the year it came out. I don't think I bought it the day it came out, but I bought it, I think, after I saw one of the videos. I Don't Believe in Love. I think that was the video, or Eyes of the Stranger. One of the whatever the first
Those were the
video
two singles, yeah.
whatever the first video of that was, but I made up a few notes quickly on Mindcrime, if you'll let me.
Oh, go right ahead. Yeah.
So the things I noticed right away, and I'm not going to go through the songs. I'm just talk. Me and Johnny will do that, but I'm just going to talk about what I feel about how Mindcrime sounded back in that time of 1988. Queensryche, there's no cheese on this album.
None.
Okay, even today it still sounds current.
Yep.
I found that this album, for me as a listener, was Jeff Tate keeps his voice in check. He's more straightforward singing. He's not trying to break glass like he was on some,
No.
right? As I mentioned, I purchased it in '88, and considering how big glam metal was back in '88, this album actually held its own. I
Yeah.
mean, it sold, it got them the tours. Um, and as you mentioned, it's a concept album to boot.
Yeah.
You know, who was doing concept albums back in 1988? I know Iron Maiden did with
Maiden did.
say Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And I also know for a fact, and it's never been said before publicly, but I'm gonna throw down the hammer here. Poison with Open Up and Say Ah is it's a concept album about sleazy LA. Every song on that album reeks Sunset Strip. So I
Well,
just
that's somewhat true. Yeah.
yeah. So, anyways, I don't want to get off on a tangent on Poison when this is the Poison show. Peter Collins produced
Yeah.
Operation Mindcrime, and as we know, he's produced Rush, Gary Moore, but he's probably known for being Rush's producer in around that time. Plus, I also feel that they had the dollars to record this album. They actually had a budget.
They had some money behind this. Yeah.
And it's one of the first Queensryche albums that I've listened to now that, Johnny, when we've done the previous Queensryche reviews, I've always said this track sounds like Maiden, this track sounds like Priest, this track sounds like a bit like Dio or whatever in the guitars or the drums, whatever, Rush, blah. This one, not so much. So they really stamped their own point of creativity on this record. So bravo to them.
Yeah. I mean, it is uniquely them. I hear them because when we were talking about the other albums and some of the songs, I pointed out that the guitar on this one reminded me of something from Operation Mindcrime. The sound on this one reminded me of Mindcrime because this is where my starting point was.
Mhm.
But and this album now, when I listen to stuff, it sounds like pieces from all their other albums,
Mhm.
but it's uniquely them. And I was really worried about the concept. It's like a lot of concept albums can be cheesy and they need to have too much narration. They did this, there's narration, but not really. It's more of an acting. It was more of it was like it's a play going on and the actors would speak, but it all works inside the music, not just after this he went wah wah wah. No, it just every song sounded and fit perfectly together. The songs are not they're not alike. Everything sounds different,
Mhm.
but yet it all sounds cohesive.
Yep.
And the story, it works. And we'll go in real quick on what the story is, but what this story is back then in 1988, it applies to today just as well as it did back then.
Yep.
Uh, because do we want to just go in and tell what the story is to a high level overview?
Sure, give her, buddy. You're on a
Okay.
roll.
So what the storyline is a guy named Nicky who is a drug addict, and he's also very, I don't know, anti-political thing. And he gets hooked up with this group and they get him addicted to heroin and stuff, and then they brainwash him. And through that brainwashing washing that they do, he goes out and he's killing political candidates and political leaders and stuff and assassinating them. And in this long journey, he meets a priest and a nun who is in with the organization as well. He falls in love with the nun. She ends up dying, which I just gave it away. She ends up dying. He loses it completely and gets arrested and all this stuff. And the story starts with him in a psychiatric ward, and he doesn't have any memory or any recollection of it whatsoever. And then suddenly it starts coming to him. And the album is about that journey of him remembering everything that had happened to him. Uh, and it works so well. I mean, even the videos, they had some acting and stuff in the videos, but I can picture everything in my mind so vividly when I listen to it. They are singing songs that just tell the story without any cheese, like you said, and in such a fantastic way that you get lost and you get caught up in the story, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and yeah, we can go through the songs.
Sure.
So the first one, well, it'll be a little weird how we do it, but I remember now, which I mentioned before. What was the last album? Rage for Order ends with I Will Remember, and
Yep.
this album opens with I Remember Now. And I know they're not related, but I still think that's fantastic that connection to them. But I Remember Now is him waking up in the hospital. And okay, this is just a tangent. There's a piece in the background in the hospital when they come on the intercom, Doctor whoever, paging Doctor whoever, you have a call, or whatever they're saying. I was at home after school. My mom was always watching General Hospital, the soap opera, and it takes place at a hospital. And so I'm sitting there with her watching it, and at the hospital scene, over the intercom, comes the exact phrasing and the voice that is in this album. That paging doctor, and it's the same doctor, the same snippet. They used that same snippet in General
Oh,
Hospital that they did on
Dr.
this
Dave,
album.
Dr. Dave.
Yeah. So that's just a little tangent, but I thought that was kind of funny that it is a canned piece they had in the background that's
Wow.
used. Um, and then it opens up after I remember now, it's just that him remembering and
Mhm.
saying, I remember now. I remember how it started, blah, blah, blah. And then they kick into what Anarchy
Yep.
X, and Anarchy X is where he starts getting involved into that organization. Um, and it's just an instrumental.
Yep.
Um, brilliant. I mean, just brutal.
Yeah. Got
What'd you?
like nice military drumming to it.
Yeah, yeah.
But we forgot one little thing about the start of this record.
What?
There's whistling.
Oh, there's whistling. Oh my God, there is. Is it the nurse as she's walking in or something?
You hear the footsteps
Uh-huh.
and somebody whistling.
And somebody's whistling. Oh my gosh, I did not pick up on that.
I did right away. I
That's
started
three
laughing.
albums now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So,
So, but yeah, Anarchy, like you mentioned, it's a good build up, short little interlude, and the drumming really drives the guitar, bass, and drums on it. With that, like I said, it's almost like a military,
yeah.
like very
And
good.
it's got that, and you hear the in the background, there's some crowd chanting, kind of like, let's say it, when you look at the picture, and it's very Nazi, neo-Nazi kind of
Mm,
feel to it.
yeah,
I mean, heck, I mean, even, you look at the emblems and everything on here, it just has that kind of
vibe.
vibe to it.
Yep,
But it's not about Nazis. It just gives you that vibe. But
yep.
then we get to the very first real song,
Hmm.
Revolution Calling.
Hmm.
Uh, oh, man. I don't know where to begin. These songs are just, they're heavy, they're melodic. The guitar playing from DeGarmo and everyone, Scott Rockenfeld's drums, it's just all, I mean, it's just perfection in my book. The way it tells the story and moves it along without, like you said, it's not cheesy. It's just great songwriting. They really worked their butt off to make these songs work.
Oh, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Revolution Calling. I found it's a great opening track. It's just a straight ahead rock tune. The solos are fantastic, and for me, one of the many money shots on this record is the catchy chorus.
Yeah.
Revolution Calling, Revolution. Like it's so good. I mean, it's sonic gold.
Yeah. Yeah. Why and how that one wasn't a single, I don't know.
Yeah, good
Uh,
point.
there's actually so many on here. I mean, they only had officially two singles, but you could really do Revolution Calling, Operation Mindcrime, Spreading the Disease is even great. Breaking the Silence. I mean, just too many great songs on here. Um, and then after that, we get into the song Operation Mindcrime,
Mhm.
which is the story of him becoming how they use the brainwashing when
Yep.
Dr. X calls him and goes, mind crime. And when he says mind crime, he immediately is boom, taking orders and goes, does what he does. So that's the story behind that part of it. But again, it's just like Revolution Calling. It's just an incredible, thought out, well thought out song, great chorus, and more. The one thing on this album is just the guitars. The guitars and the riffs and the tone are just incredible.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's a great title track. I mean, I think they must have when they recorded the sound of that telephone ringing, they must have put that phone through a Marshall amp or something. It is so freaking loud.
It
And
is.
you hear the music static when he says hello, and
Yeah.
then he hangs up, and then it rings again, and he picks it up, and then the song just boom, just
Yeah.
plows you right in the forehead.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know what? It's just those little bits of creativeness that really draws you in as a listener, and that really pulled me in. I mean, the song, the verses, it's almost like a heavy metal kind of shuffle with the drums, you know, and the guitar. Like they just mesh up so brilliantly on this song. So
They do.
yeah, it's two for two so far on this
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
All right. Then we get to Speak.
Mhm.
And Speak is where we get the introduction of the priest. And no, sorry, priest. Speak is where his ego just starts to really kick in, and he's really in on the vision, and he's really he believes it. He's speaking the word. He is really he's fully in and doing what needs to be done.
Right.
Uh, I mean, again, is it as the first two were really great. This one is almost as good as the other three.
Mhm.
Um, it's a different. I like the chorus. He's kind of like speak the word, and then it goes revolution, and so they keep that going for it. It's not this big, huge chorus, but it is catchy enough that it draws you in.
Yeah, and that's the thing I like about, like you said, like the chorus of "Speak the Word." It's not like he's like trying to break glass with his going
Right.
up in those crazy octaves. Because by this album, it's what their third full length studio, with along with of course the EP. We all knew by then that Tate had the pipes,
Yes, the
and he
pipes. Yeah.
can, he can scream as good as Halford and everybody else at that time. Like his voice was right up there, so everybody knew what he could do. I like it. The only, and I said this earlier, it doesn't sound, but just the beginning, this midge of the beginning, the first 10 seconds or so, it sounds very Maiden like with the opening with the guitars and
Yeah.
I mean, of course you're gonna wear your influences on your sleeve at certain points, but they kind of do away with it and it just goes into like a four on the floor, straight ahead rocker, like
Right.
boom, and then it's done.
Yeah.
Like it's quick.
Yeah. It is. Um, the next song, spreading the disease. That's where we get the priest introduction, and then Mary, the nun, and it kind of tells the story of Mary, basically, and how she became a nun. She was a prostitute. Um, there was a part in the song that when you're, a kid and your name's John, and it says for $20 a blank, John's a happy man. And I know they meant the John that was visiting the prostitute, but as a kid, you're like, oh, I love that part. That's I
Making me
wouldn't tell
sound
my
bad.
wife that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this one is a really another good rocker. And again, it's one of those songs that it's telling the story and trying to introduce this character, but they do it in such a great way that it just flows naturally.
Yeah.
Um, and you get to understand who Mary is really well and what she's been through. And you can see why, in the end, I guess he falls for her.
Yep.
Um, so, what did
Yeah.
you think of that one?
Well, it's Rockenfield's kind of tune, right?
Yeah,
And you and this is another one where I like Tate's vocals. Like I like it when he's just singing in a more, I don't want to say subdued, but more of, don't want to say chill, just more of a casual metal rock vibe. Like he's not having to power these over the music, so to speak. His vocals just slide in perfectly, and he's just singing at a real cool register. I mean, when I hear these kind of songs, I mean, it still amazes me that T-Bone just did not give a shit about Queensryche. Even definitely, he is more into the Poison concept album than he would be a Queensryche. But
and I like Poison back then too. So,
well, yeah, so do I, and I'm just comparing the two. Yeah, because he's like, no,
but I would
me,
take this album over any Poison album. So, because we'll get to where what I really feel about this album.
this
But yeah,
T-Bone
when
was
you get
always.
Hmm?
T-Bone was only looking for nothing but a good time back then. So you know
Right.
what I'm saying? So
Yeah, and this is not, there is none of that on here.
there is none.
This is
So
not a sex, drugs, and rock and roll album at all. Um,
no,
but Tate's vocals on that with the chorus, he doesn't hit those high notes, but man, does it soar.
yeah,
And because he drags out spreading the disease, and there's just this long, I don't know, he's just dragging the words out, and it's just, I'm not going to say angelic, but it's just what a tone he has on his vocals.
yeah,
And back then he was nailing this crap live
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Good point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Uh, all right. Next is the song "The Mission." Um, let's see, what is this one? The Mission. Oh, he's starting to have affections for Nikki. The Dr. X, who's his controller, takes notice that and gets real concerned about having Nikki involved. Um, but that growing attention, that's, I guess, this is the mission. Dr. X is now trying to, well, not Dr. X, but Nikki is realizing that Dr. X's motives are not necessarily kosher up to, and he's starting to question everything. Um,
Yeah.
but that's that part. But the song itself, it's another one of those. This one's a longer one, not too long, but it's over 5 minutes. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't want to keep saying the same thing,
All right.
but Tate again on the vocals and lyrically, it's I still can't get over how well they do mesh everything together. Um, yeah. So, what do you have thoughts on that one?
Yeah, the same. I mean, is that the one where it has like the gun going off in the background? Or am I getting too far ahead here with the mission?
Could that be Sweet Sister Mary, or no? It might be the Mission.
It might be, I can't remember now. I might have twisted up my notes here a bit, but
Yeah.
I just remember hearing like the gun blast, like I mean that's heavy stuff for back in
I
1988.
think that's at the end of this song.
Okay, so
Yeah.
okay, that's what I'm thinking of going into the
The
next one.
next
Okay,
one.
I'm getting
Yeah.
getting too ahead here, but as far as the mission goes, yeah, you sum it up perfectly. I mean, it just it's all about sequencing of the
Yeah.
songs too, and it all flows. I mean, it would have been cool to have been a fly on the wall when they were all sitting around trying to piece this thing together, and we're gonna put this here, and we're gonna put an interlude here, and
Yeah.
putting our marching drums here, and like too bad there wasn't a making of video kicking around, but or whatever. I mean, it's like I said, you go back to that time, and like you said earlier, this album applied back in 1988, and it also applies in the year 2024. So
Yeah. Same kind of stuff's definitely going on today. Then one of my favorite songs, it's over 10 minutes long. It is not like anything else on the album. It's sweet as in Suite, like a symphony kind of sweet. Sweet Sister Mary. Um, he's sent to kill her. He doesn't do it. Um, and he loves her and wants to run off and all this stuff. I love this song for the fact it's very operatic and very theatrical and dramatic, but yet it's still metal and it still sounds like everything else, but yet it doesn't sound like anything else on the album either. I get the sonics of it still match all the other songs, but there's so many changes, key changes and tempo changes, and it's a suite. I mean, it goes through and takes you on a journey in that 10 minutes of all the craziness that's going on with Nikki at that time. And I just think this is probably one of Tate's best vocals on there, but it also has, if I'm not mistaken, this is the one with Pamela Moore sings a lot more on this one, who she's playing Sister Mary. Um, she sings a lot on this album, but I mean, this song in particular, they're going back and forth, like having conversations and kind of thing, and it's just really well done. And this is my favorite, one of my favorite tracks on it, just because it's different. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally different. I mean, it's like you said, it's like you're going down the sonic highway. It's going all over the place, but it all holds together. I mean, it's a big, hate to say the term ballad because everybody drops ballads and whatnot, but it's got that kind of tempo-ish. The second vocal kind of adds to it as well as and the choir, which to me sounds like a choir in it as well. It's a very big atmospheric track. And you know what? Another one that just kind of like I just mentioned a few seconds ago, just slides in there perfectly.
Right.
Like, and that's the thing I liked about that, like back then, all these bands, whether it be the third track, fourth track, be the ballad or stuff, like Queensryche really, for this record, there were no rules to follow. They
Yeah.
were doing vibe and they stuck to it. So good on them and good on their management and record company. Just let them be.
I know since this album really isn't like anything else, the label must have just said, okay,
Yep.
we like what you're doing, just run with it. And because yeah, they did not follow any formula whatsoever.
No, none.
Then we get to The Needle Lies. This is when Dr. X is telling him he has to go kill Mary,
Yep.
and otherwise he'll be back, just be a heroin addict and be out on his own. And this song cranks. Um, just it's a speed, almost a speed metal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a short. I mean, it's not a terribly long one. Um, I mean, it's 3 minutes. It's not as short as the next one, but oh man, it just gets the juices flowing. After that big long suite, then it's like boom, pounding you in the face, and it's off you go to the races. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. To me, it's like just you're a straight ahead metal track and the guitars just slam you in the forehead,
yeah,
like boom, and bottom line is don't ever trust the needle, John, in a Mindcrime kind of way.
it lies. That needle lies. uh, then the next track, it's Electric Requiem.
Yep.
This is after he goes back in and finds that Mary's dead.
Yep.
And then it's real short, only a minute long, really great. Did you have any notes on that one?
Not really. I just
Okay.
made a note that it's a short interlude.
Yeah, but it works.
Yep.
And then after that, it goes into probably another one of the best songs on the album is Breaking the Silence. Um, this is the one where he's lost it. No, Mary's dead, and he's just gone off the deep end. He's just running around town. His mind is gone. He's hallucinating. Um, and he's just screaming, breaking. I guess, yeah, he's just screaming out everything. And so Breaking the Silence, it has that urgency to it. Um, and it's one of those songs that the chorus is just, it's huge. Uh, Catchy as hell. This is another one of those songs that probably, I don't think this was a single. No, this to me is another one that could have been a single. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it because the guitars, even though it's a rock track, the guitars almost sound melodic. Like
Yeah.
they're just not playing heavy, crunchy riffs. Like they're actually playing melodies, and
Right.
I like how they're not trying to overpower the drums. The drums aren't trying to overpower the guitars on it. And the tempo changes keep you engaged as a listener. So yeah, Breaking the Silence could have easily been a single back then.
Yeah.
But right ahead, another great straight ahead metal track, rock track, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever. Then we get to the second single on the album. Um, it's I Don't Believe in Love.
Yeah.
At this point, he's being arrested. They find a gun. They start connecting him to all the other murders that have happened. So that's how it connects to this story. But I would say this is as close to a ballad as you'll get, maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw this out there.
Okay.
I remember when we did the warning, and
Uh-huh.
I said NM 156, I would put in the all-time top five Queensryche tracks.
Right.
Song here, I Don't Believe in Love.
Yeah.
I would probably that would be the second song that would be in the top five.
Wow.
I find that the course, like I said earlier, with some of these courses, but this course on this song, it is the money shot. Like it is so good. It's the song is so well written, produced, executed. Like I just find it a top song. I've actually never viewed it. The only thing I would view it as a ballad is just the title. I just like
Yeah, I
how
mean
the
it's
song.
it's not the heaviest song.
No,
Yeah.
but I just like how the song just flat out goes,
Right.
and Tate's vocal is awesome on it, super catchy. And you said that this was the second single.
This was the second. Eyes of the Stranger was the first.
Okay, so I don't know if I bought the album on Eyes of a Stranger, but I know for
Hmm.
sure by if that was the song I first heard off it, I Don't Believe in Love. I definitely bought it because of that track. So yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Killer track. That's all I gotta say.
No, I mean it is. It really is. Then after that we get two little, one instrumental and then some interlude with Waiting for 22 in My Empty Room.
Yeah.
He's pretty much gone batty. He's in a insane asylum. Um, he's finally figured out, by the end of what is that by the end of this empty room, I think he's figured it all out. Um, they're great little interludes. They're necessary to keep the flow of this album going. They're not, I don't think they're skippable. Um, I'm just trying to think if there's anything I want to point out on, but yeah, I don't really have anything. I didn't write anything down for those two. Yeah.
No, I just wrote Waiting for 22 in My Empty Room. Tick tock, tick tock.
Yeah. You
That's
got the clock going.
yeah, got the clock. You're on the clock, Johnny. We're on the
Yeah.
clock.
And then after those, we get to the first single and the very last song on the album, which is Eyes of a Stranger. So he's awake, he's looking in the mirror, looking at the eyes of a stranger, and everything is flashing. The whole story is basically flashing through his mind again. Because in the song, there's bits and like when we get to the end of it, there's bits of pieces from all the other songs jumbled together really fast. And
Yep,
then it just like stops. And then he goes, I remember now, which is the same thing he said at the very beginning.
yep.
So it comes full circle and we're back to that point where now his memory's back. So that's the story. But the song is it's it was the first single. It's another one that's really catchy. Jeff's vocals, the way he sings Eyes of a Stranger and that I don't know, it's just the harmonies on it, everything is just it's spectacular. Another great melodic hard rock. And I would say it's hard rock. It's not a metal song. And a lot of this album is more hard rock than it is metal.
Metal. Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but it's not glam by any
Nope.
stretch. No. Uh, it's still harder than most anything else that's out there. But yeah, just a great way to close it up, finish it off perfectly for everything to come back with, and definitely now you would see why there might be um, a sequel to it later to find out what happens afterwards, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. And like my thoughts on Eyes of the Stranger, it's another stellar track. And what a way to end the Mindcrime album on these last two songs.
Yeah.
Usually sometimes you get into that record and by the ninth, 10th song, I always call them end of album gems.
Yeah.
It keeps you still engaged as a listener. And these songs could have been easily at the start of the album. They're that good.
They're
I
that,
mean,
yeah.
good songs. So kudos to Queensryche. I mean, they went out of the park with this one.
They did. And that's key. There's not a lull on this album.
Nope.
It is bang, 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 go, go, go.
Yep.
And once you understand the story, which is not hard to do, I think you can visually see it, and not many songs you can visually see in your head while they're playing. So,
Mm.
this is one of my all-time favorite albums ever. It would be in my top 10. It is one of those albums I will play every year, multiple times, every single year. And I can't say that. I have a pretty large collection. I don't get to every single CD in a year, but I make a point to pull this one out and listen to it frequently. So,
Mhm.
um, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. So, what about you? What would you rate this one?
I was kind of thinking about these ratings, and I think what would be fun after we end on Promised Land, because I have no idea what the score is going to be on that one.
I don't either. I don't
But
either.
I think it'd be fun to just go back and do a quick recap of our scores on what we thought now and what we thought of maybe if we were to score it, say we were doing this back in, say, the early 90s, or you know what I mean? I think it'd
Yeah.
be kind of neat because for me, I think some of these scores would change, and I'm not going to say anything more than that other than I have to give this one a 5 also.
Okay. Yeah,
So
it's just that good.
yeah, and
And
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've seen reviewers be like, it's not a great concept album, and I'm like, I don't get that thought, because to me, it tells a story with what was I listening to? I was listening to Shinedown's last album called Planet Zero, and it's a concept.
Mhm.
But there's these cheesy ass robotic narrations in between some of the songs that to me just ruin the whole flow of the album. And like I said, there's no narration in this. It's little acting scenes, and they actually have actors. I mean, Pamela Moore is playing a character. She speaks in some of these. You got Anthony Valentine, who's Dr. X. Debbie Wheeler is the nurse at the very beginning. And so they've got actors doing some of these little roles, and the way they fit them into the songs is just perfectly done. Uh, it Yeah, to be a fly on the wall. I mean, hell, they had Michael Kamen do some of the orchestration and stuff.
That's right.
So,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
he's a master at that kind of stuff too. So, just an incredibly good album. Um, I don't know if there's anything left to say after that. So,
No, I don't think there is. It's just like when we're doing this, and at the start of the show, you said you saw them open up twice for Def
for Def
Leppard on
Leppard,
the radio
yeah.
tour. I'm just trying to picture them doing some of these tracks, and then a half hour later, you're listening to Pour Some Sugar on Me.
Oh,
Like
they're very, very different. Yeah.
totally different. It's no different than years ago when I went and seen Van Halen with Alice in Chains opening. You go from Man in the Box to Pound Cake. It's kind of the same vibe, really. So,
Yeah.
it's just kind of funny, but it somehow all works together. But yeah, think about the musical landscape in 1988. And, the one thing I know one of the viewers, and by the way, thanks to the people who have been commenting on our shows, like the one guy, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, I don't remember it right now, but just to hear stuff that when Rage for Order came out, you went down on your bicycle and bought the album that day. Like just to hear those kind of comments is
Yeah.
really, really kind of cool because we all can relate with our stories of when and where we were for certain albums and stuff. So keep those comments going. So it's always great to hear some viewer um, comments and
Comments. Yeah. No,
yeah.
that's what's
And
great. So before we sign off, what do you have anything coming up on the Distortion Den?
yeah, well, actually, as you know, I finally rebooted after a 6 month layoff, and
Right.
life kind of got busy, and stuff. Shit happens, and
Yeah.
life gets whatnot, and yeah, I just decided one day, and I threw out a Crush Kelly review on my YouTube channel, the Distortion Den, and I just try to keep them under 5 minutes, and I got one. By the time this is out,
This
it'll
will air
already
next Monday. Yeah.
next Monday. So yeah, I think what'll already be out on my channel is I just did a review of the latest Mr. Big live album,
Oh, very
uh,
nice.
Record Store Day title. So
Yeah.
that'll be dropping in the next few days. So check it out if you want to, and subscribe if you want to, but no
Yes.
pressure.
No, no pressure, please. Yes,
Pressure.
definitely like his stuff. I'll put a link to Deke's stuff down below. So
Appreciate it.
do click like, subscribe, and all that. And the same on my channel. Please hit subscribe and like and leave comments. We'll both answer if we can.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure having you again this week or this month. We'll
Yeah.
come back next month and we will do Empire.
Or as Jeff Tate says, Empire.
Empire. I can't do Tate. I'm not going to try.
Here do I. I'm just pretending.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time on the collection.